We're back in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma for the continuation of qualifying for the U.S. Hoffman Association Super Modified Mud Racers. And coming to the line is the three-time and defending world champion, Tom Martin in the Super Trooper. In the world of super modified mud racing, there are two basic engine combinations in the sport: supercharged engines and nitrous oxide injected engines. Both are attempts to gain as much oxygen input as possible into an internal combustion V8.
The nitrous oxide cars typically get all their power immediately right off the line, and that is a problem sometimes. A blower motor will build off the line and come on strong after it gets out of the gate.
A supercharger works quite simply. In a rubber drive belt that is connected from the crankshaft to the front of the supercharger spins rotors within the casing to force an air and fuel mixture into each of the 8 cylinders. That adds extra oxygen to each fuel and gas charge in the cylinder, and the objective, of course, is to make each charge a hotter, brighter, more powerful fire in the cylinder. Nitrous oxide injection works the same way, but slightly different in that oxygen is injected into the engine under pressure. The supercharger isn't needed in that the oxygen flows freely from a pressurized tank into the intake manifold and/or the cylinders themselves. Each different team has an idea of which system works best, but one thing is for sure in this season of super modified mud racing, more drivers are starting to switch to a supercharged power plant, and more are starting to leave nitrous oxide injection behind.
Well, I can't get the right power band that I want coming out of the starting line. It seems like they make too much horsepower coming out, and I just can't get it to come off the line without spinning the tires, and I think the blowers will help me out.
You may have a hard track or a soft track, a line that goes away. You may want to use the nitrous jets, change the nitrous jets, and decrease or increase the horsepower. Whereas, you know, a blower motor, you'll have a little more time, it's a little more involved, changing pulleys, so forth, but the nitrous jets are very easily changed.
Actually, we prefer to supercharge it because there's less parts really to go wrong. There's no solenoids to deal with, there's no nitrous bottles, there's no pressure, anything like that to deal with. Basically, what you have is a 3-inch belt that drives a blower, which turns some rotors, which just pushes the fuel and air into the motor.
The nitrous oxide injected car will get all its power right away. A lot of times that's a problem. You have to compensate for that accordingly.
It used to be, you know, whoever had the most power won, but you got to get the power band down and get the car hooked up all the way down the track.
It seems to indicate that the sport itself is changing from just a brute power sport to something that requires a little more intelligence.
That's right. You know, you gotta be able to stage the car down the track and have it hook up all the way down and full hard all the way.
And a supercharger will do it?
I hope so.
Right now, Martin is using nitrous oxide power, and he's ready. Martin shuts the engine down well before the finish line. He is stopped in time, but that effort may have cost him dearly. He had to go 2.06 seconds to qualify. He runs 2.10 seconds. The 3-time world champ will not qualify for the shootout field here in Oklahoma City, and he is upset. But keep in mind that earlier interview indicated that Martin may be thinking about switching from nitrous oxide to a supercharged power plant. In the meantime, another one of the nitrous oxide injection campaigners using extra oxygen injected right into that engine with Ford power. It's the rear-engined, short wheelbase Wild Cherry dragster. And big-time power problems for the nitrous-injected Ford wedge motor. The Bud-sponsored entry with obvious problems right off the starting line will not be a threat. The Wild Cherry machine at 2.61 seconds may have stopped in time, but the elapsed time during the 80-foot run itself was nowhere near enough needed to remain competitive. On the starting line is the machine that took Tom Martin to 3 straight world championships. This is the Mud Patrol 32 Chevrolet, now campaigned by his original sponsor, Paul Schaefer. It's his rookie year of competition, but he's already in the top 5 in the world point standings. Schaefer on the brakes hard. Stops it in time with only 4 feet to go. The Mud Patrol machine, believe it or not, 2.109 seconds will not make the field. It has not been a good event for Tom Martin's double-barreled super modified Bret. That will bring up Iowa's Byron Tinkey. 2 national event wins last year on his way to a top 10 points finish. The Bad Habit supercharged Chevrolet trying to qualify. Stops it in time. The elapsed time, 1.842 seconds. And that's one of Byron Tinky's best ever passes. He made it look effortless, stopping with an easy 6 feet to spare. That will qualify him in the program, bumping out Todd Marion. So now it takes a run of 1.89 seconds to get in. And here's the Ford-powered Thunderbird funny car of the Rancho Shock Absorber team and Mark Watrous. The supercharged Ford hard on the brakes. He stops it within inches. The escape hatch comes open, but believe it or not, the run won't be good enough. 2.03 seconds, about a tenth of a second slower than what the Team Rancho boys needed to get in the field. Chad Miller and the Instant T supercharged roadster out of the state of Ohio moves up next. This car has the power to qualify. In fact, that Chad Miller was forced to get off the throttle or blow the engine. The RPMs were so high. You can hear it on the replay. The motor just zinging to the moon. And then the Instant T at 2.20 seconds will not be a threat. That's surprising for a young man who has picked up quite a few U.S. Hobbit Association national event wins. Larry D'Antoni and the Addicted to Mud Machine, a winner recently at the New Orleans Superdome, ready for his attempt. D'Antoni puts it sideways, almost up on two wheels, but gets it stopped in time. The unfortunate part is that while he kept the machine under control in the shutdown area, there is just too much tire spin off the starting line for this machine to break into the 1 second zone. 2.16 seconds won't help the recent Superdome winner. D'Antoni will not qualify. We saw Melvin Brown in the Blue Max Jeep earlier. Here's his other machine, a supercharged rear-engine dragster out of Ohio called Red Heat. Keep in mind, Melvin put both these vehicles in the top 10 in the U.S. Hobbit Association standings last year. Beautiful run by Melvin Brown. Full throttle to the finish line. He stops it within about 6 feet. But again, it's not good enough. 2.10 seconds. You have to go quicker than 1.89 seconds to be a part of the four-car shootout field. And Melvin Brown will not make it. So the four machines in qualifying that will make it into that shootout round. Number one, the American-made of Jim Weber, 1.83 seconds, followed by a 1.84 by Byron Tinky. All machines under 1.9 seconds. But coming up, Foster Trucks and Robosaurus. Don't go away.